What's going on, everybody? James here with Fish Room Fever, and welcome back. So today is the much anticipated, long awaited day of the first African cichlid video release on the channel. We are going to be moving Miss Fever's African cichlids from a 110 gallon aquarium to a 55 gallon aquarium, downsizing her collection. They'll move up to a bigger tank down the road, but for now we're going to a 55, and she's just keeping the ones that she really likes. So come along and let's get started on that setup. We're going to go through it start to finish, setting up a brand new tank. If you haven't already and you've just stumbled upon the channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. I think you're going to like what you find. But let's get to it. Alright, so here's the tank that we're going to be setting up today. It is a standard 55 gallon tank. Now normally I would build my own stands, but we've got that one that it came with, so we're just going to go ahead and use that. It'll work fine. I'm actually going to be putting another tank on the bottom. That's going to be that tank right there. I'm going to go through, rescape and restock it, and get that Project Piava Part 3 video finally finished now that I've gotten through all the disasters that happened. Alright, so in order to get this prepped, I am going to be using spray paint for a background. That's what I like to use. We're going to go with black. I went through and wiped it off, took a damp paper towel with some water, a scraper, got everything off of it, and then went back and wiped it down with some rubbing alcohol. I just put that directly onto a paper towel and wiped it down, no spraying or anything, so no contamination inside the aquarium. I'm going to go ahead and get this painted real quick, and then we can start doing the setup. So I will be right back with that. Alright, so I've got 2 layers of paint on the back of that and got the tank put back into position. I'm going to be adding this pool filter sand from Quikrete, as well as probably some other substrate from the tank that the cichlids are set up in now. Not just to give a little bit more substrate, but also bring over some beneficial bacteria, which we're going to have that in a canister filter that we're moving over also. And I've got plenty of cycled sponge filters that I could throw in there just to be safe if need be. Let's get the sand in here and see how that looks. And that's what you're looking at with a 50-pound bag of pool filter sand and a 55 gallon tank. So I don't really want the sand to be even necessarily, but I wanted to give you an idea of square foot coverage, just kind of an approximation, and you can use that to kind of calculate how much you would want or need. And you could also look at that and go, well, I've got a 40 gallon, X amount of square foot, however many inches high I want it, and use that as a measuring point. So I have used this sand with and without rinsing it. I think since we're about to move the fish over, as soon as this is set up, I am going to go ahead and give it a quick rinse. Alright, so I've got it filling up. As you can see, there's really not a whole lot of cloudiness to it. Mostly what's in there is actually debris that was in this piece of PVC that I've got on the end of my python hook. So that's what all the spots there are. Other than that, it's really not too bad. So I'm just going to give it a single rinse. I'll let this go a couple more inches, drain it, and then I will come back and get some more water in here, and we will start transferring things over from the other tank and getting this completely set up. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to do is going to sound a little weird, and let me explain it before you hate on me in the comments. I'm going to take this pump right here. It's hooked up to the other end of the python that would normally be hooked up to the sink to get water in the tank. I'm going to pump some of the water from the tank that the fish are in now into this new tank. So before anybody hates on me about the beneficial bacteria that's not in the water, you're mostly correct. There's a little bit, that's how it travels, is through the water column. But that's not the reason I'm doing it. I'm doing it because the water parameters are in the water. The temperature, pH, all of those things. So I want to get about 4 or 5 inches of water in here that those fish are already acclimated to, and then I'm going to slowly fill the tank after I get all the fish in so that they can adjust to the parameters versus throwing them into 55 gallons of water that isn't going to match exactly what they're coming out of. So here's the first fish going in. It is a red OB peacock. Alright.
It's a male.
It is a male, says Miss Fever. Alright, fish number 2 is a female red frontosa going in. Next fish is a Haplochromis. I will put the full scientific name probably somewhere across the bottom of the video right here. Could not find a common name for it. Alright, next fish going in the tank is a super red top. Don't ask me, I don't see the red either, but I also didn't name it. I just say what I'm told to say. So let's get him out of there. Or her. Up next is the HZN44, sometimes also referred to as a ruby green. Next fishy for the tank is a sunshine peacock, and then I think we've just got one more after this. Alright, so here we have another sunshine peacock, and then one more fish. And last but not least is a female red OB. Alright, so as you can see, we do have a lot of micro bubbles and particulate and all that wonderful stuff in here. I did give the canister filter a really good clean out in non-chlorinated water. I didn't move any more substrate just because there's going to be so much beneficial bacteria in that canister filter. It's got 4 trays. One of them is about 2 inches of sponge, and then there are some bioballs, and then the ceramic rings, and then another tray of bioballs. Each of those is about a 2-inch tall tray, so plenty of biological filtration going on in there. Water is a little bit funky, cloudy. Need to go and get an actual lid set tomorrow for it, but I've got some thick sheets of glass on top for now that will keep anything from jumping out. And I will get another shot tomorrow once we get it completely finished up. Add some more decor to it, some more hiding spots, if you will, more territories, and the water clears up a bit. But here's a shot of how it looks at the moment. Alrighty, so let's talk a little bit about the end result that we are looking at now. As you can see, it's a bit different than the previous shot. So quite a few things changed, one of which, as you can see, there are 2 sponge filters in there now. Those are seeded sponge filters from another tank, so no issues in terms of beneficial bacteria. The reason those are in there is because the canister filter, after I cleaned it, hooked it back up, was still having issues with micro bubbles, even though I had went through the whole priming process and done everything that I know to do to fix a canister filter. So I took it back apart, and as is what typically happens with canister filters after a while, is the O-ring or the gasket or the seal started to give out. So I did pull that off of there. It wasn't leaking, but it was sucking in air, and if you cut the power to it, or if you kind of lean it sideways, water will come out from around the seal. So I didn't want it on that tank, especially down underneath there, back in a corner, where we could get water damage and not even realize it. I do have it running on another tank out in the middle of the floor exposed, and I'm going to sit it in a tub. That way if it does leak, I'm not going to have issues with it damaging the floor, but I don't want to lose all the beneficial bacteria out of it. And I may just pull those trays out and toss them in a tank. But that's why we've got the sponge filters. I actually enjoy it. I really do like sponge filters, and eventually the plan is to take all of the aquariums in all of the fish rooms and get them on a linear pump, so everything will be air driven. So we're just one step ahead of the game now. But we put those in there. The decor, as you can see, is a bit different. I did go with artificial plants. I'm not a huge fan of artificial plants, but when it comes to the African cichlids, they don't give you a whole lot of choice. I didn't film any of that process for this video. I actually did an Instagram live in which we set up the aquarium decor, drilled the holes in that decor so that we could attach the plastic plants, and went over a couple different little tips and tricks. So if something like that would interest you, feel free to go follow me on Instagram. That link is down in the description. Have some fun little stuff that goes on over there that you don't see on the YouTube videos. So that was fun. I appreciate everybody that hung out over there, had a good time. But basically what I did was drilled some 1/4-inch holes, and then took those plastic plants stem by stem, if you will, and just attach them in so we wouldn't have any zip ties or bulky bases or anything like that that were going to draw any more attention to the plastic plants. Another thing you can see is there are actually some more fish that were not in the previous video shots. Once we got the tank set up and we were moving the fish out of the old system, we decided to add a couple more. She picked a couple more cichlids to throw in, one of which is the Black Widow frontosa, which at this point is down toward the bottom right corner of the screen. And then she had, I think, 2 others that she put in there, but I honestly don't remember the names of them. Again, Miss Fever, thank you for the names on all the fish as we were filming this. I am admittedly falling more in love with the African cichlids again, especially after this project, so I'm going to be brushing up on my African cichlid knowledge. But at this point, it would have just been a bunch of random fish going into the tank had she not helped, and they are her fish, so was happy to be able to have a project involving her and something that she really wanted to do. Overall, I really like the way that the tank turned out. Everybody seems to be doing really well. There's also the rainbow shark in there. That fish was in the 110 gallon with the cichlids before. We went ahead and moved him over, and I don't think you get to see them at any point in this video clip, but there are also 2 bumblebee catfish that are in there. And then there is a Gibbosepps pleco that I pulled from another tank and added in just to kind of give a little bit more bottom action, if you will. Got a couple in the tank, and there's a little bit of aggression between them, so I figured I would pull the least dominant one and put him in there, but he'll still hold his ground fine with the African cichlids, and they don't really care too much about him being in there. Yeah, I like the way the tank turned out. More importantly, Miss Fever's happy with how it turned out. I've not gone and picked up any lids for it at this point, but I did switch over a light from another setup. It's LEDs, it's blue and white, but it's a 48-inch light that actually came off of a saltwater tank that I bought used as part of a setup. But it gives a good appearance to the fish, a little bit better than the original light I was going to put on there. I'm really happy with it. It's going to be a part of my everyday activities now, given that it's in my office fish room and that I'm going to be filming videos on the desk immediately next to it where the tripod is actually sitting now. So you'll get to see this tank as a backdrop in some of the videos that I shoot going forward, and it makes me want to be that much more involved with it. She's got some really beautiful African cichlids, so I'm kind of glad that she decided to downsize and I got to have the tank in here and spend more time with it. I'm glad that I finally got to do some African cichlid content on the channel. Been meaning to do it for a while, but life has gotten in the way, so I'm happy to finally have this out there for you all. Huge thank you to the members. I posted a sneak peek video in the members only section, and you all really liked that, so I appreciate that support. In terms of the general care and conditions for the fish, I do have a heater in there, as you can see at the back behind that reddish colored fake plant. I've got it set to maintain the tank right at about 78 degrees. Current pH is right at 7.5, 7.52. That's what they're accustomed to with my water. That's the typical pH that things settle out to. Diet's going to consist of, and has consisted of, a variety of foods, including some different cichlid pellets from Hikari, and some Aquarium pellets that I've gotten as well, and from a food purchase I made recently. Tetra tropical colored granules, Hikari BioPure large bloodworms, Hikari, and those are frozen, Hikari frozen BioPure brine shrimp with spirulina, and just some other flaking pellets that I have from time to time. So they get a nice varied diet. Always make sure that you've got a decent quality food. I tend to stick with things like Hikari, the Tetra tropical colored granules. Omega-1 is one of my favorites. I've heard some things about the purple cichlid pellets. I don't know, I've never used them. Some people had issues, didn't care for them, but I have used the Omega-1 super color pellets in the red container for years and years on at least 1,000 fish at this point, and have not had any issues. So that's what I feed. In terms of aggression, they're kind of having the standard cichlid aggression, if you will. Nobody's really getting beaten up too much. There's a lot of chasing around from time to time, but there are enough fish in there that aggression is getting spread out fairly well, so nobody's getting hurt. Of course, we're going to continue to monitor that just to make sure that nobody gets beat up, because we want everybody to be happy and healthy. I really do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, you can give it a thumbs down, but do me a favor and leave me a comment and let me know why you didn't like it. Again, I appreciate all of you. I look forward to putting out the next video, and hopefully I will see you all in the live streams before then. Until next time, keep your fish healthy, keep yourselves healthy, and catch yourself a little fish room fever. Take care, everybody.